to what I say, and you like it. You like doing what I say.
Not all the time. You tell me to shut up, it doesn't work. Does it now?
And we're live.
We are live. I don't know about alive.
I know.
Okay.
We both
I am
worked
now.
today.
We worked in the garden today, and it is hot. It is 23 up here, which is about 70 something. I have no idea. 74-ish. And I'm like, damn, it's hot. I'm sweating. Okay, I'm not going to complain. There was like a foot of snow here about a month ago. So,
I know. It just seemed like a couple weeks ago you were saying, "Oh my God, it's snowing out."
Hey, look, 2 weeks ago I finally lost my last pile of snow.
3,
2, okay.
Good evening, everybody. Me and Mama Dia here. And I am going to show you a little intro video as to our guest tonight who's waiting in the green room for us. And she will be with us as soon as the video ends. Good evening, everybody. I am Gina B, and the place to be is here with me and Mama D every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the Fox Den. Search for the scariest, darkest places on the planet, and that's where you'll probably find our guest, Joni Mayhan. She is a seasoned paranormal investigator and the author of 20 paranormal books, including the best-selling paranormal true story, Bones in the Basement, Surviving the S.K. Pierce Haunted Victorian Mansion, as well as Signs of Spirits, When Loved Ones Visit, the true story of the Deanna Simpson haunting as depicted in the Hanover Haunting. Winter Woods is a trilogy which includes The Spirit Board, The Labyrinth, and The Corvus. Others are Ruin of Souls with Michael Robichaux, The Devil's Toy Box, Crazy Dead People, Dark and Scary Things, a guide to the paranormal that everyone should own, The Soul Collector, the true story of one paranormal investigator's worst nightmare, Haunted New Harmony, Ghost Magnet, Ghost Voices, Ember Angels, Lightning Strikes, Ember Rain, Angel Storm, Ghostly Defenses, and Spirit Nudges. Her latest book is in the works, When Ghosts Are Near. There is still time you could be part of this book, as am I, sharing your experiences and how you can tell if spirits are near. She also operates Haunted New Harmony ghost walks and investigations in the town of New Harmony, Indiana, where she resides. Her intrigue regarding the unknown frequently leads her into dangerous situations others leave untouched. Joni has attended over 300 paranormal investigations, including many haunted hotspots such as Waverly Hills Sanitarium, Rolling Hills Asylum, and the Lizzy Borden House. She has also hosted many investigations, some of which I have personally attended. She has many adventures to some pretty awesome haunted locations. We also have had our share of fun on these investigations. She has been featured in print as well as interviews on Travel Channel's 100th episode of A Haunting, where she tells of how she helped and assisted Sam Balstruce with a paranormal incident. She goes to so many events where you can meet her and get her books, and many book signings, and she also has wonderful presentations. Joni is a fantastic artist as well, painting pictures and murals, and she is known for being an animal lover. And now she has the Critter Cafe at her home, where she feeds the creatures that come out in the night, including Penny the Fox, raccoons and possums, and they all have names and personalities, and they all eat on her porch every night as they're caught by camera, and you can see them all on Joni Mayhan's YouTube page. And now she is joining us to tell you about her books and her upcoming adventures. Welcome back to the Fox Den, Joni. And here she is.
Hey, that's such
The
a
woman
wonderful
herself.
intro. Thank you. Gosh, I feel honored. Somebody took the time to put an intro together. That
And she's good.
yeah, and only one mistake.
Yes, the name.
All true.
Okay, if I'm having.
Mama's having technical difficulties tonight, and she
Yes,
keeps on freezing. So we're just going to kind of have to...
There she is. Nope.
Yeah.
False
She's in
alarm.
and out. She's been in and out and in and out. But Mama's gonna sit there and look pretty. And
If I disappear,
we know why.
I'm having
It's because
issues
she's
with my
having, right. She's having laptop issues and internet issues. So, you know, but she can sit and look pretty. You're so pretty. But Joni, really seriously, welcome,
Yeah.
welcome. And that intro
Oh,
video, yes, I did ruin Sam's name, and I will apologize to him if he watches, and or even if he doesn't watch. But
wing it.
you're gonna kill me, Mama. I'm sorry. This is so funny. But in that intro video, when I said we have fun, and there was that picture with the
werewolf teeth.
the werewolf teeth. Yes,
Okay,
we had investigated
I'm back.
a strip club, and on the stage they had a black light. So we did the whole investigation. We got some great evidence. We were very serious for the majority of the night until we get up on the stage with the black light and noticed our teeth, and we look like werewolves and doing all that stuff. And oh my God, we had so much fun.
I'm not sure I've laughed so hard since then. That was so funny. As soon as we started seeing the pictures of our teeth, we just went nutty. There to truly appreciate it, but it was a lot of fun.
It was. Being with you on these investigations has been like the highlight of my time in the paranormal.
Oh, thank you. We've had some really good times. We've had some great investigations. I'll never forget our first one together.
Yeah, now.
Well, I barely met you, and you said we won't mention the name because it is off limits, and it was no trespassing when we went there.
Yep.
But, I thought we were it was an old boys' school, basically, that was partially torn down, and it was reported to be very haunted, and it was a lot of people were in and out of those buildings. So, in your defense, we ran into people while we were there, but I thought we were just going to walk around the outsides and take pictures, maybe do a EVP session. And there goes Gina in a window. I'm like, what do I do now? Do I follow her, or do I stand here and be a big chicken? And finally, I gathered my courage. So you've definitely caused me to put aside my fear of being arrested. And we had a great time. That's where we captured all those entities walking into the gymnasium on your camera.
Yeah, on the thermal image of all the entities walking. Yeah, that place is amazing. Yeah, I've been there numerous times, and and you can get evidence inside and outside those buildings. But that building in particular, which is now not there anymore, they tore it down.
Oh,
I know. Which is a question I want to ask you now. All right, you've seen all those entities. That was a sunken basketball court, and what I took was a big long clip, and that was just a little clip that we would share of just them coming in and out. So that was like a dressing room off of the sunken basketball court. But it was like the whole building was just so packed with entities. Now, when they tear that building down, where do you think, or what do you think those poor souls were thinking, doing, feeling, sensing? Do they know it's gone? Are they still, in that building, in those areas, thinking that it's still there?
I think they were definitely distressed when they started tearing the building down. I mean, you look at buildings that are going under renovations and construction, the ghosts get really upset. I'm sure a lot of them were well aware of what was going on. And, maybe some of them are still there. Maybe in their mind, they're seeing the building like it used to be. Or maybe they're just waiting for the next person to show up so they can haunt it, which is very likely.
Yeah, because that's kind of where I was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If they renovate that area and what goes up, I think those, because they were feeble-minded,
Yeah.
So they don't know any different, like that was the second time I caught all those apparitions walking, so they're doing the same thing, they're doing their daily routines. So I'm sure, I think when a new building goes up, they're still going to be doing their daily routines.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I'm fighting with a cat right now who wants to walk on across the front of my computer. So
That's okay. I'm having power issues. That's why I keep disappearing.
If you see me making strange facial expressions, or you hear me swear and yell at somebody, it's not you, promise.
Not much. I know. I don't do anything to be sworn at today. But now you lately, right? I see you've got Hanover Haunting behind you. Now you lately have been on a bazillion shows, including this one.
Yeah.
When I had Deanna and John Zappas came on,
And not me.
And yep, because
not me. She grounded me. She sent me to my room.
And see, and you'll be nice now, right? From now on. No.
Okay. Why change a good thing?
That's right.
That's
don't mess with perfection.
Yes.
If it's broken, don't fix it.
That's right. Never change, Mama. Never change. But
they tried. They can't.
Yeah. But so you have been doing a lot of interviews on that book, and that book is doing so well, and it was a tremendous book. But that is not the like tonight. You've written 20 books.
Yes.
Now I want to go back into like
I want to know what the first book was.
These winter woods. This trilogy here. All right, Spirit Board, the Labyrinth, and the Corvus. All right. Why don't we talk about those? Well, actually, the Ember Rain and those ones were the first ones you wrote, right?
Right.
You want to start
about? It doesn't matter. I can talk about either. I like both series. Well, let's start with Winter Woods since you already put it up. So that is fiction, and that is really where I excel as a writer. That's my forte. That's what I do the best. And just cannot get my true paranormal fans to follow me to fiction. And I don't know why, because my fiction has never sold as well as my paranormal, but the reviews have been like almost perfect 5 stars all across the board for all my fiction. Because it's basically not held back by the true story. I'm able to make stuff up, and I base it on a lot of my experiences. So it's based, maybe I should start saying inspired by a true story, because almost all of them are. Yes. But Winter Woods is actually really interesting because I wrote that when I was in Massachusetts, and I based it on a fictionalized version of New Harmony, Indiana, which is where I live now. I did not know I was moving here. I had no idea. It was a town I was aware of because I used to live fairly close to it. But I came back one summer to visit my family here in Indiana, took a tour, a historical tour, and it sparked something. So I went back and wrote this story about this 17-year-old girl named Winter, who's an albino, and has a twin named Summer, who's not an albino and is perfect and blonde and beautiful. And they moved with their parents. She's 17, moves with her parents to this town called Harmony. I just changed it a little bit. And her father is the caretaker of the cemetery, which we don't have one of those. So I took some liberties, but she finds a spirit board in her closet, and everything takes off from there. And so it was really, I loved the book, and the way I write is kind of would unnerve a lot of people. Like, I will write the first book and publish it, and then start writing the second book with really no idea where I'm going. And by the time I get to the book in the trilogy, I swear I get divine inspiration, because everything ties up perfectly and the story comes out like it should. It's almost like I'm being told the story by somebody else. So I love that series. I actually go back and read it every few years. And people go, how can you read your own books? I'm like, I have a bad memory. I read it like I'm reading it for the first time, like I didn't write it. So, and I'm like, that's great. As long as my memory keeps failing, it's like I'm writing books for myself to read later.
Like the fish in the fishbowl. Ooh, a castle. Ooh, a castle. Ooh.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I love it. So now that's great. No, your fiction is amazing. Even my little Crazy Dead People is fiction, and amazing story, amazing. I've been in the quarantine, I told you about Tubi, is where I've been watching all these horror movies. And there's so many horror movies about, people going into asylums and whatnot. And that one, I want to ask you. Well, first of all, people, it's a girl who's like hired to scout out locations for a paranormal team, and she's going and she has this big adventure in this location. Now, was that location inspired by Waverly?
It was. It
Okay.
was definitely.
All right.
And I took some liberties with the building because I always do. I want to make things like a little bit more intriguing. Like I'm pretty sure there's not a tunnel under Waverly Hills, or maybe there is, and we don't know. Hi, Chris.
I don't have my comments up because I have my my things up. So
that's what I'm here for. It's okay.
Yeah, you run the comments. Hi, Pookie. He's going to be on next week. As a matter of fact, in here in Ghost Magnet, Pookie, you're in here. Okay. Like we made these books all over the place. All right. Here is a picture of Chris, Joni, and Victor the Voice Furman. That was pre-Gina in Second Sight. And she tells about when you first met Chris and went to one of the psychic development classes where he told you about the bubble of protection and all that kind of stuff.
I still use that too. Thank you, Chris. I've always bubbled, but he taught us to use color, and I started using golden. And then I went to one of those aura pictures where they take a picture of your aura. And mine came out yellow, like a golden yellow. And I thought, well, there you go. I bubbled up and my bubble just showed.
Right? Perfect. Yeah. Oh, my God. So that's validation right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's awesome. All right. Now I see that let me just bink over to the comments real quick. Hi, Bumpkin, Bob's in. Hey, you got a heart from.
Welcome, heart.
You got a heart. All right.
Okay, my day.
Okay, guys, I got to not look at these anymore because I'm going to pull up the next set of books here.
Yes.
Let's see. I think this is it. Yes. All right. This was actually your first series, Lightning Strikes, Ember Rain, and Angel Storm.
Yes.
So
these books are really relevant for what we're going through right now because Lightning Strikes was my first book, and it follows another 17-year-old girl. Apparently, I like that age to write. It's just my maturity level, but they have just gone through a deadly virus that has removed about 90% of the population from the world. And in its place are terrorists going through, taking advantage of this, rounding up all the children and killing all the adults. And so she's trying to keep her younger sister protected. And that fails miserably because her younger sister, Elizabeth, is there's something different about her. And it kind of goes into it in backstory, but she's actually able to call lightning from the sky. And she's tried a few people over the years, and it's something her parents just didn't know how to deal with, obviously. I mean, can you imagine if you had a child that was able to fry people with the lightning?
I like to do that. I know a few people that like the toast.
I'd point them in the right direction.
I was going to say, in this day, today, I would like that. I'd be like, okay. But it doesn't really. Yeah, she doesn't have control over it. But the terrorists see her as a great weapon because if they can use her, then they can control and kill or whatever they need. And so the books, it goes into a paranormal aspect, which I don't want to give away, but, they do learn that everybody that survives the virus has some kind of metaphysical gifts. And my main character, Ember, has the ability to sense ghosts. So,
just out of curiosity, is that Ember with an E or with an A?
With an E, Ember. When I wrote that, I'd never heard that name before. And now I'm seeing a lot of Embers.
That's my cat. Okay, cool. Because that's my cat's name.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow. Cranky Orange Ginger. His name is Ember.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a cool name. Good job. And it's definitely kind of an epic book, and you get so sucked in. You love these characters. Like, I literally cried when I realized what the ending needed to be, that I was going to lose a character. I cried. And then when I finished the book, I missed those people. It was like I had these friends that I lived through, like I was Ember when I was writing this book. And I went through some withdrawals. People keep asking me if I'm going to write a follow-up book, and I wouldn't mind, but it's so hard to invest yourself into writing a book that may take you 6 months to a year and then only sell 50 copies. So people are not following me to fiction. So if they start following me to fiction, I may reconsider that. But it's a big investment, and I live on what
I need a lightning strike thing to go right through the screen right now. Warning, warning, danger, danger. Read her fiction, people.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first set that you wrote. The set that we're talking about now. That's the set I want. That's your first book.
Yeah.
So that's the trio that I want. So
My
I'm gonna go check out.
My daughter Jackie read it, and she is like an ultimate critic. I was actually kind of nervous that she was reading it. She loved it.
Well, out of everything I've written, that book is still my favorite. Out of all 20 books, I love all of them, of course, because I wrote them. They're like my children. Right. But that book is my favorite, and I go back and read it. And when I read it, I'm like, I wrote this. I get, like, wow, this is really good. So,
yeah, but still, and again, a lot of your nonfiction is taken from true life events. Like I see it. I see it, how you are, like you can see pieces of you, pieces of people that we know, you know what I mean, are in there. And it's forward. But
crazy dead people, everything that happened in that book has either happened to me or to someone I know. So it is, and I need to just add that to my book covers, based on or inspired by true experiences, because I wanted it to have a texture of reality. Because what I hate is when you read ghost hunter books and they're talking about ghost busting and they're pulling out these tools that don't exist and couldn't exist, and they're ludicrous. I get insulted. So as a paranormal investigator myself, my books are, hi Leslie. Yeah. I'm always going to put a layer of truth in it, because I want people who do this to read it and go, wow, that sounds cool, or that's happened to me,
Mm-hmm. So and seriously, and you're the best storyteller. I mean, you really are. You're an incredible teacher. You're an incredible mentor. You're a great writer, storyteller. I mean, you're a fabulous investigator. And I'm telling you, she's got coyones, right? You go into these places.
Can we put that in Canadian,
please? but she is, she will go into all these locations and just hold a good professional investigation. And that's what I love and admire. She's not going to hear something and go running off.
I've been on those investigations before, like trying to reel everybody in. Like, it was just a noise. It doesn't mean it's paranormal,
Right. So and a lot of that portrays in your writing too. Yeah. So you'll debunk things and you'll say, oh, well, it's probably this and it was probably that, and like the orbs and the things like that, you'll put those things in there. So I appreciate that as a fellow investigator as well.
Thank you.
All right. So what else about this this
well, they are all on Amazon.com, and I priced them very low so that people will read them. In fact, if you have Kindle Unlimited, Lightning Strikes is free. But the books are $2.99, and they are long books. Like in paperback, they're 400 pages. So you're not investing much for a lot of book, but it keeps going. Like almost instantly, you're off and running, and she's being chased by something, and she's running, and I don't want to give too much away because I want people to read it and not go, oh, I'm not going to read it now because she told me everything. But it's an exciting book.
Right. So. Stephen Foster says, I read Hanover Haunting in 3 days, couldn't put it down. I did it in a day. I couldn't stop reading. I was like, my chair. I was just like, oh my God. And I knew the story and I couldn't stop reading, Yeah. Surprise ending and a surprise ending that will be revealed for the first time on a radio show on the second hour here in the Fox Den.
So spoiler alert for those who don't want to hear the ending. wait till the end of the show and just don't listen. Plug your ears. Watch us, but plug your ears.
No. No, but the resolution. It'll be a resolution will be revealed on what's happened with the Hanover Haunting.
And I will say, Deanna's watching. I don't know if she's
in the chat.
She's in the chat. Hi, Deanna. We talked on the phone today.
Where is she?
We have kept such close tabs on that ending. We wouldn't tell it in any of the radio shows that we've done because we want people to read the book. We still want people to read the book, but I kind of feel like we're to a point where credit needs to be given to the man who got her out of that hell. And I think everybody wants to hear from him because they know he's my hero. He's a lot of people's hero, and people will actually get to hear him speak, which is so, so cool.
Yeah, and rare. He doesn't do a lot of shows.
No.
So that's awesome. So that's what we're going to have on the second hour. And let me see what we have. How are we doing on time? We're doing good. Okay. Now, these books, Ghostly Defenses, Spirit Nudges, those two. Well, all right. Go to Ghostly Defenses. All right. That is a protection for.
It's a short book. It's very quick and easy. And the reason I wrote that was to be able to give to people that I investigated their house or to new investigators just joining in a team or people that wanted to ghost hunt. It just talks about staying safe and what a haunting looks like, the different types of hauntings. It's not an elaborate book, but I've had a lot of people say, you know what, I bought a copy for every member of my team because there's some good stuff in there. It talks about paranormal protection, what to do, what not to do, and things like provoking. And, I think I have the, hey, honey. There she is.
Hi, beautiful.
One of my favorite people in the entire world. So, of course, Gina, you're right up there too. And Mama D, and I'm watching.
I'm getting there.
You're getting there. So
I'll get on your nerves, and he'll be like, "No, she's on my nerves. Get her out."
Hey, I can boot her. I can get her.
Yeah. So Ghostly Defenses is it's just a quick and easy read, and it's for newbies trying to get started, or people that are worried about, needing paranormal protection. So, hello.
Yeah. Hello. Also, people, newbies.
Yeah. Well,
this is a must-have. Everybody must have. Dark and
I really wrote that one because I had so much stuff in Ghostly Defenses that I didn't cover. And as you know, I taught a Paranormal 101 class in Gardner, Massachusetts for a number of years. And Gina would come to some of them. And we covered so many different areas. I thought, wow, this is great information. And so
this is a book on some of the shows that I've had. Okay. And this is information on people on the shows. But what's in the back of this is Joni Mayhan's, some of her things like lucid dreaming, the class of lucid dreaming. I printed out your presentations and everything and put them in for reference points. So I have a few of them in the back of that book. Right. This was like just like last year's shows. I could fill books like this from all the shows.
Wow. Oh my gosh. But it goes through everything. Like what is a spirit guide? How do you know who your spirit guide is? Do you have an angel following you? What kind of protection stones should you use? What do the different stones do? Where are your chakras? What are they good? What are they good for? How do you control that? And just lucid dreaming. I don't know. It's just like a one-stop for everything, and it's all my class notes basically from the Paranormal 101 classes.
I didn't know what to expect going in there. I didn't. When you first asked me to go, you asked me to come and do an investigation.
Yeah.
Because there was something going on in there. And Barbara kept getting the attachment, So I'm setting up cameras and everything. I didn't know these guys investigated. That was the first time I met them, So I'm like setting up a camera saying, oh, don't worry about it. Just a, thermal camera over here and the GoPro over there and digis around and stuff like that. And I caught that thing coming off the back of Barbara's head.
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff. So it was like really attaching and caught it on the flare. I mean, I've gotten some of my best evidence ever has been with you, around you, you know.
Well, I think we're both ghost magnets, and when you put us together, and on to the next topic, but put us together, and we're like double amplified. So
I
it's no
know.
wonder that we get a lot of information and evidence because we get a lot of ghosts.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they know that they can trust us,
Mhm.
that, we're going to ask decent questions. We're going to ask, you know, not provoking, not kicking them in the teeth and making them
You're going
dance.
to show them respect.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. We
Yeah.
treat them like they're people because
Yeah.
most of them were,
Right.
and we go from there. Like
Yeah.
you would be rude to, well, you might be rude to some people, but when you go in and you're just meeting them for the first time, you're not going to be rude.
I know. You don't go to your neighbor's house and just kick the door in and tell them to dance or throw something
Right,
at them.
right.
Or
Tell
hit
them to
them.
get out. Tell them to get out of their house.
Yeah. No, you just don't do that. You don't
Yeah.
do that to the spirits either. But your classes were amazing. And honestly, I just didn't know. I had no idea how in depth and how wonderful of a presentation that you put on, too, for
Thank
these
you.
classes. I mean, she dug and she had the screen and all
PowerPoint.
and
Yeah.
interactive things. Oh my God, we did so many different types of scrying. Do you remember all the scrying techniques that we did?
Oh, that was a fun class. We set up different scrying methods all around the room. Go. Sorry, I'm getting licked.
Because they
No.
want to come on camera.
After
Hello.
Okay.
And then there's ambulances and fire trucks going through the town. I can hear them, which is a weird thing for New Harmony. I can tell you it's been
On a birthday.
months, like a lot of alarms. So
Uh-oh.
I don't know what's going on. Hopefully it's not nobody near me.
Oh, boy.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, a lot of fire trucks. Wow.
But we had that here, but it was the guy up the street had a birthday.
Oh,
And they had a fire truck in
Yeah,
the
that's
front,
true. That's what they're doing.
and then all
oh
the
my gosh. Like there are, this is like, can you hear that?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, but that's probably what it is. Because what they're doing now is for the little ones who have birthdays and they can't have parties. If it's especially if it's a small town, they're well known. They get the mother usually contacts the fire department and the police department, and they come zipping by with their sirens and everything blaring. So it could just
I've
be that.
seen that before, but I don't know. Well, maybe that's what it is. Let's hope. But I'll find out after I get off the show. Hopefully it's something, not one of our historic buildings. I didn't do it, I swear. I've got an alibi.
She does. She does.
Live.
Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that too about the town that you live in and what you do there. But your classes though, again, just
Yes.
that scrying one though, we had so much fun. We did the flames and water with paper and wax floating on things, different things. I mean, just oh my God, I can't even remember all of them. Jeez.
Yeah, we had a couple different classes that were interactive like that. And you were able to attempt to do different things. We had a psychomantium set up back in the herb room. Remember that with the big mirror and the candle?
Yeah.
And I told people, I didn't tell them anything. I just said, go back there by yourself and sit and stare at the mirror. Look at wherever you want. And they came out like white as a sheet. They're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, my face morphed. I saw myself turn into an old man, to a little child, to a woman, to a man, and I had a beard, and they were all freaked out. And they say that there's a logical explanation, like your brain's trying to make sense in the dim light. But I think there's also some paranormal aspect to it, especially since that room is haunted. So
Okay, is that one specific? Can anyone do that with any mirror, or is it a specific mirror?
Yeah, no, a mirror.
it was just a floor-length mirror set at an angle, and sit in a dark room, a small dark room, a true psychomantium. First one time I encountered one of those was at the Houghton Mansion in North Adams, Massachusetts.
Yep.
And they had like a small closet painted black on the inside, a big ornate chair, and that mirror, a big gold gilded mirror, and then a flickering light in front of it that you turned on. And I did not last. I think I lasted maybe 4 minutes in there before I came flying out, white as a sheet. And Sandy went in after me, my friend Sandy McLeod, which you know, Gina, Sandy well. She went in and she lasted like 7 minutes because, you know, her kahunas are bigger than mine. And she was in there for 7 minutes and she came out and she was like, well, that was very interesting. I'm like, you know, I'm still traumatized by the fact that I saw myself with a beard, you know.
I saw myself as a black man. I mean,
Oh, wow.
I turned
Yeah.
black and I could see like I don't know, like a scar across my face and kind of walk down.
Yeah, and there's no way that your brain was, you know, trying to debunk that your brain was trying to make sense of the darkness. I don't get that. And I don't, you know, in some ways, I think, for me, what I think it is you're seeing your past lives.
That sounds like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's my theory.
And that goes way back. I mean, scrying goes way back, whether it's in a bowl of water, at the edge of the river, you know, the black mirrors, all those things, you know, the portals, you know, there's so much. Mira has so much involved in paranormal. Like, Chris George, you know, like he likes to trap mirrors. You know, he'll put 2 mirrors up if we're trying to get an entity out that's not wanting to get out. Like I did those exorcisms with him. And, you know, we put up these 2 mirrors facing each other. So like when it gets in the middle, it's stuck there. You know what I mean? And then you can physically, you know, get it out. But mirrors play a big role. I mean, and always have. It goes way back.
It's interesting because I collect mirrors. I have been doing that for 20, 30 years. And so I have mirrors all over my house. And I like the old antique mirrors. I actually have one that is upside down under a bed because I started to realize that more things were coming in. I think there was maybe a portal in that mirror. So I did what I could to close the portal myself, and it felt okay. And then I put it under the bed. I'm like, I just don't even want to look at it anymore.
Sorry.
I don't blame you. I get nervous now since I did that whirlwind thing, and I went to like Trans Allegheny and to Hillview and then to Houghton, and then from Houghton went to the cemetery to the Hoosac. I was so tired. I did this whirlwind thing. I slept maybe like an hour, 2 hours, and that whole entire time driving Staten Island first, even to go pick up Frank, to do all this stuff. And in my delirium, I brought home that spike and that brick, remember? And I had all that stuff go on in my house.
Yeah.
It blew up my computer. I brought home a real bad negative entity, and I brought that spike and that brick into my house, you know? And you just don't do this. You never, ever, ever. You don't even take a pebble from a haunted location, people. Never, ever, ever. Nothing.
Well, and you also don't investigate when you're exhausted or not in a good mental state, which goes back to another book of mine that you showed up on the screen, and that's Soul Collector.
Yep.
So Soul Collector was my very first paranormal book. So I'd written the Lightning Strikes trilogy, and I'd been having paranormal experiences. I went through this devastating paranormal experience with the Soul Collector, and I was warned by the psychic medium that helped me not to talk about it, not to tell anybody about it, not to think about it, and certainly don't write about it. And I held on to that story for 2 years. And for me, it was almost like surviving an avalanche or a hurricane and almost losing your life and then not being able to tell anybody about it. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know, I've got aunts and uncles and cousins and school friends, you know, that don't know that I'm involved in any of this stuff. And they're going to think I'm crazy when I put this out there. But I think that there must be other people out there that have gone through similar things, or maybe I can at least prevent a few. By showing them what ghost hunting could look like if you're a sensitive and you go out when you're in a bad state of mind and you pick up the worst attachment ever and you don't have a backup plan, nobody to help you. It's horrible. It's horrible because you're living with basically a demon in your house that wants to do nothing but bring you to your knees and terrify you. And I lived by myself. I was scared. I was really scared all the time. And it took months to get this thing off of me. And so I thought, you know what, screw it. I'm writing this book because I need this information out there. I need to release it. Some of it was just, I needed to purge it. I needed to share it. And I was nervous. I thought people are going to think I'm crazy. And I had the opposite effect. It was amazing how many people reached out to me. The book went #1 on Amazon in its genre. And I got so many messages. Oh, that's not my dog for a change.
Nope. That's Onyx.
Okay. People were reaching out to me and saying, I've had something similar happen, or, that's where I debuted the fact that I pick up ghosts by my ears ringing. And at the time when I said that in my book, you didn't read it anywhere. Nobody was talking about it. And I think when people started commenting, they're like, I thought it was tinnitus. I thought it was just normal ear ringing. And I'm like, no, well, it may be, but I always tell people, if you think, turn your head. If the sound gets fainter or louder, then it's not tinnitus, because tinnitus is a solid, steady sound. But if you turn your head and it gets louder, like I do that on investigations, and I bet you do too, you're trying to track where the ghost is in the room. You'll be turning your head and you'll go, okay, it's over here. And you'll be able to pinpoint where it is just by where the sound's coming from.
Exactly. I mean, you were the only other person that I knew that had the ear ringing thing. And I was just like, oh my God, there was just another thing that bound us together. When I first met you, and well, you had written the book about the S.K. Pierce Mansion.
Yeah, Bones in the Basement.
Bones in the Basement. And I fell in love with that place. You fell in love with that place.
Yeah. Well, the place also fell in love with us.
Right? And
it latched on. Yeah.
And I met Salem Con, and you didn't know me from a hole in the wall. And I'm like, Joni, I know you love this place as much as I do. Buy it with me. I'm like, I just wanted to buy that building. It's like I could have bought it by myself, but I didn't want to do it by myself. You know what I mean? It's like I just needed someone to go in on.
Just imagine if I would have said yes. Yeah, I thought it rings when somebody's talking about you. It's not my experience, but it could be yours. So, when it happens to me, there's somebody there.
Yeah, and me
but
too.
Yeah, and when you came up to me at that point, I had already recognized that I had a problem with the house had latched onto me, and it did a lot of people. It would pull you in. You had to go back. You couldn't stay away. I ended up with a key to the front door for a couple of years. So I was there a lot, and it finally came to realize this is not good for me. I'm obsessed with this house, and so I cut my cords. Barbara Williams taught me how to cut my cords, and I cut my energy cords to the house, and I really kind of just parted ways with it. And now I'm okay. I can go back and visit. It doesn't affect me in any kind of way. But when you asked me if I wanted to buy that house, I was right in that process where I need to walk away. This place has got me. And
you were saying, this girl's crazy. I don't know who she is, and she wants to buy it.
That too. And that ended up being very true. Don't you agree?
That she's crazy? Yes, no, I agree 100%.
But in a good way, a good crazy,
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was just the beginning of a great relationship, a great friendship.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad you came out. And then the one Paracon where you and I we found the Ghostbusters guys, and they let us play with their equipment, and
that's in the intro. Yeah. The backpack and the little thing that and the trap.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. I'd drag her away from her table and say, "Come on over here. You got to meet someone," And she'd be shy, or one time you asked me, she's like, "Oh, will you introduce me to Nick Groff?" I'm like, "Sure, come on." Go cut the line and everything, because that's the kind of girl I am.
Well,
I just go walking right to the table.
Steve Shabby was another big one. I didn't, when you go to these Paracons, you see these para-celebrities, and I just don't like bothering them. Like, I feel like they're already being hit, talked to, and I just kind of leave them alone. And you're like, come on, we're going to go meet Steve DeShabi. And I'm really glad you did, because and as I was writing Deanna's book, he's a big part of that book.
Yes.
And I already had that connection. I knew who he was. Yo, Peoples. Michael Robishaw's in the house.
Yeah. What's up? Getting ready to come on, about 15 or so.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. That's our guest for the second hour. We got about 15, 16 minutes.
Okay.
And we got Magic Mike. Yeah.
Somebody should have told him to get his costume ready.
I'm going to cue up the music. Mama, cue up the music.
Alexa, let's it go.
Oh my god. No, but we really seriously have had so much fun. And before Michael does come on though, I want to let's see what's this one's here. Signs of Spirits, Ghost Voices, Ruin of Souls is the book that she wrote. That is pretty much about Michael. All a bunch of cases that he's worked on. We're going to talk about that when Michael comes on. But Signs of Spirits. Now that I have a couple stories in. I'm in a few of your books. I'm telling
You are.
yeah. So Signs of Spirit, I'm pulling out right now. Ghost Voices, I do not have that book. So tell me, what is that book about?
Ghost Voices. I was going to start a Paranormal 101 series, and that's book one. I never wrote a book two. But it's basically no dancing, though. Oh, come on, guys.
Fine.
Karate.
But
Taekwondo.
one of my Paranormal 101 classes was how to record EVPs and how to get them off of your recorder. I couldn't believe how many people went on investigations and had no idea what to do with their EVPs. They were listening to them on their digital recorder, and they were showing people. They're like, I'm like, no, here's how to do it. And so basically, I talk about how to use. Audacity is the example that I use because it's free, or it was at the time. And I put up screenshots and showed people, here's what you do. Here, plug in your digital recorder, open this. And some of it may be slightly outdated because I'm sure they've done updates, but it gives you the basic gist of how to get that off of there. And then I also have a couple good stories, and I share some EVPs, and I talk about what the difference between a Class A EVP and a garbage EVP, which we've all collected a few. You get all excited over one, and then you realize it's somebody across the room from you yawning. So, that's why we tell people to mark their audio.
Yeah.
Somebody yawns.
It's like, we go into investigations and I say, okay, if you burp and if you fart and if your stomach growls and if you sneeze or anything, you say it, right? And then don't whisper, people. Don't.
Yeah. Whisper. And that's all in there. And I talk about my system for EVP sessions, which a lot of people have adopted after they've used it. I've gone to so many investigations where people sit in a circle and they start all shouting out questions like way too fast and one on top of the other, interrupting each other. And then there's usually that one person that dominates the session. Nobody gets a chance to say anything. So the way I do it is I start, and because I'm the queen, and I'll ask like a couple questions, leaving a good 20 seconds after, between questions to let them answer. And then when I'm done, I'll say pass. And it goes to the person on my left. And they can ask a couple questions and then they say pass. And I have to remind people sometimes during investigations, they'll butt in and they'll say, are you a woman? It's like, okay, it's not your turn. It'll get around to you in a minute. So, but I think that, I don't know, I like the way I do it. So.
Yeah. I think you've done that to me before.
Probably.
Because I am.
No, I would have just said, Gina, shut up.
No. I think that's what it was, but I was trying to be right.
Because we're good like that.
We are. We can take it. Again, those. but Signs of Spirits. Now, this is When Loved Ones Visit. This is a bunch of people that and stories of their loved ones coming in. And I have two stories in here of my late husband. And I don't know, I should have. That picture that looks like a muddled mess. Actually, he had passed away on a sofa. And that his face wasn't on that pillow, but that's the face that it was because he was face down on a coffee table, and like the fluid filled up his face, so it looked exactly like this, And I did that. I took that picture with the FLIR camera, like weeks later, because I just didn't go in that room. You know what I mean? They took him out, and I just didn't go back in that room. And I was doing a FLIR around because I was hearing all the noises and everything. And when I saw that, I freaked out. And I took the pictures and I was just like, oh my God, because like I picked him up because I thought he was sleeping. I picked him up and I saw the face, and I'll never forget the face. But that's what that was there. So I knew he was trying. He was making an impression that this is me, and the other stories that I have. Right, this was us. Um, I think that was right before our honeymoon pictures. But he had helped me in my house. He helped me find his wedding band that I lost that was on my ring. And he told me where it was during an EVP session. And he also helped me um, save me from a fire in my house. And those two stories are in that book. And there's so many other people's cool stories. You're first because you're the queen. Your story was first in there about Nanny and Pappy, and it's just they're true stories, true people's, interactions with these spirits, so they're not all bad, because people
Mhm.
get so
It's not
scared.
them, they're all good. It's when loved ones come to visit, not ghosts, which I differentiate in the very beginning, talking about the difference between a spirit and a ghost. Like a spirit to me is someone who's crossed over, gone to heaven, received their instruction, and they're full of love and light, and they come back to visit. A ghost is someone who avoided the light and stayed earthbound and doesn't have any kind of, like, when you ask them questions about what heaven looks like, they don't know because they've never been there.
I like
So
that description.
yeah, so when loved ones come back, they're very lighter. Their symptoms signs are very light. It could be, seeing a butterfly at a certain, not like just a butterfly, like, oh, there's mom, um, like one of the stories in the book was a woman had just gotten married. Oh yeah, look at your butterflies. I wonder where I got that idea from. Um, but a woman had just gotten married, and her mother had died a few months beforehand. And so after the wedding, they were all standing outside, and a butterfly came out of nowhere, landed on the bride's hand for a second, then went to her sister's hand and landed for a second, then went to the other sister's hand, and then flew off. And their mother was a big fan of butterflies. So they knew that that was a sign that their mother had been there, and it was very comforting for them. So I go through a lot of different stories and a lot of different signs that people might see, and some of them you may not even consider being. You may overlook it, and that's what a lot of people do. They overlook these things. So that is probably my bestseller of all time. I still sell a lot of copies of that because people need that comfort, and it's nothing but good stuff. Nothing scary in that book at all.
You realize you've just added to my shopping list, right? I go therapy shopping, and I'm like,
Yeah, I
I
mean, I
want the
have
first trio, and then I want that one, and oh my
two
God,
trios.
I'm gonna have all. I'm gonna have. I know, but I'm gonna have to have all 20. It's just like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Well, I want all 20. I mean, I've got some PDF books, so I can't.
Yeah, I need to mail you Haunted Hanover Haunting. I do have a copy for you. I'll get it out next week. I promise.
Oh, I love you. But yeah, well, that's special for all of us. But Haunted New Harmony.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about this one because we're coming down to like 7 minutes before we have our next guest coming and joining us.
So that's a really interesting book because I had no intentions of writing it. Um, so about 4 years ago, things started falling apart big time for me in Massachusetts, and I had already had a lot of things go through. I went through foreclosure, bankruptcy, a divorce, and I was nearing homelessness because I had nowhere to go. And my stepfather offered to buy me a house in Indiana, and they were, because that's where my family's from. He said, "Come home." And everybody was really rallying around me, and I ended up doing it. I took the jump, and Gina, because you helped me pack and you broke your foot helping pack my truck. But I will say nothing broke.
I
So you
stayed.
did a really good job.
I stayed and worked. I wrapped it up we had shrink wrap. So I
Yeah.
shrink wrapped my foot. I didn't realize, I knew it hurt like hell, but I didn't realize it was broken.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, we got to pack this just right because she had gotten a truck and you have to pack it and then they put a petition and then they go to someone else's and they put stuff in there. So we wanted to get all her stuff, in as little space as
Well, I
possible.
was paying by the foot too, so
Yeah.
I didn't want to pay more. So you get that packed tight. It was good. I think I got money back because because you did such a good job. But it was the hardest thing I've ever done, was to pack up my entire life. I was in Massachusetts for 30 years.
Yeah.
And to pack up my entire life, leave my grown children and all my wonderful friends behind. But I was really at a point where I didn't have a lot of choices, and this was an opportunity to me. And when I came back, I was so drawn to New Harmony, and I can't explain why. Something pulled me here, because they were finding houses for me all over the area, and I was like, no, New Harmony or nothing. And so I ended up moving here. And as I was walking around this beautiful town, if you follow me on Facebook, you can see I'm so in love with my town. It's the site of two utopian societies, and it has a ton of history. It was founded way before there was the state of Indiana. So it has so much history, and it's just so beautiful here. But I just fell in love with the town. But I also realized, my God, there's a ghost in every building. As I was walking around to stores or walking past houses, I thought, this is crazy. So I started asking around, and then I learned, there's a lot of ghost stories here. Let me tell you this, let me tell you that. People started introducing me to other people and started really getting into the thick of it, and started doing investigations. And I thought, I need to write a book about this, because that's what I do. And so I put the book together, and it did really well. It still does very well locally. In fact, the state of Indiana Museum Divisions is having a online book club event on May 30th. So if anybody's interested in attending that, I'll be on there talking about the book, and people will be asking me questions. And there could be as many as, it's a Zoom meeting, there could be as many as 500 people. But so I decided, it's not enough to just write the book. I should do a ghost walk based on the book. And so I went around and laid it out. I figured out that I could do an hour and a half and hit a lot of the stories out of my book. And I had already done the research. I already knew the stories. So that's kind of what I did. I'm starting to go in the dark, aren't I? Is that better? I just happen to look at myself.
Oh, I know what to do. Hit the screen. That usually happens. But so that's amazing. So I can't wait to, one of these days, because we've been trying to do that.
You have to get down here, because there's so much for me to show you. And there's a haunted history. There's a hidden haunting here that I haven't quite figured out yet. Like I've always said, money and affluence will bury a lot of misdeeds. And I feel like there might have been some things that were buried here, and I don't really want to talk about it on this show. But when you come down, I want to explore some of those with you.
I'll bring all the equipment.
Oh, that'd be great. And I'll get you in a bunch of buildings. So, yeah.
When we investigate, we come up with a lot of answers. We come up with a lot of great stuff. Stuff that you weren't even expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to get there. All right, we have like 2 minutes before the hour. All right, look at this picture here. This is all 20 of the books. So you got Hanover Haunting, Crazy Dead People, Haunted New Harmony, Ghost Magnet, Signs of Spirit, Bones in the Basement, Ruin of Souls, Devil's Toy Box, that one we didn't talk about, Spirit Nudges we didn't talk about, Dark and Scary Places we kind of hit on, Ghostly Defenses, Ghost Magnet, Ember Angels, The Soul Collector, and then the 2 trilogies. So there are all her books. Go to jonimayhan.com.
And .ca.
And and she has a YouTube channel too, because she's got we got to talk about the Critter Cafe.
Critter Cafe. In fact, I loaded it up. I'm waiting for the first guest to show up. I can see out my window, so I'll let you know.
Awesome.
But yes, Joni Mayhan is my YouTube channel, so you just search for me and you'll find me. And there's some paranormal videos, but mostly it's raccoons on my back porch, and a fox, and a skunk, and a possum, lots of possums.
And the fox, yes. So you saw a little bit of that in the intro video, but you can watch it. She puts up the clips on Facebook, but if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see more. Subscribe to her YouTube channel. While you're at it, subscribe to us, the Fox Den, hosted by Gina Bankston, too. By on the bottom there. Do that for me and Mama D, and we'd appreciate it very much. What book did I just say I wanted you to talk about?
Devil's Toys.
Devil's Toy Box, yes. So,
Yeah, and I can talk about that one pretty quickly. That's the true story of when I moved into a haunted house right after I got married and moved to Massachusetts. And the ghost was targeting me. And it's very similar. Deanna and I had some similar stories because my husband was a skeptic and nothing was happening to him, but everything was happening to me. And it was terrifying. And I was young. I was pregnant when we moved into that house. And I was scared, and there was all kinds of weird stuff that was happening. And I called it Devil's Toy Box because that's a paranormal investigative tool where you trap the ghost inside of a box. And that's what I felt like. I felt like I was trapped inside the Devil's Toy Box. And we were there for 11 years, which is ironic because that's how long Deanna was in her house as well. So we had a lot of similarities between our stories. Of course, hers were far more extreme than mine were, but still crazy, still creepy. Yeah, it kind of goes into my, how I got into, and further how I got into the paranormal.
yeah, I was just looking at the comments real quick because I haven't really been looking at the comments because I've had my brands up so I can throw the pictures up. So I'm sorry I haven't been watching the comments. I apologize, but that's why Mama D.
That's okay. I'm paying attention. I'm really upset that Magic Mike is not dancing. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, Mike, come on in now, so we got you queued up because I'm not going to go to commercial until I have your little face on the bottom in the green room here. So
It's not the green room. It's the rainbow room. Magic Mike's in there. Hello.
I don't know if it'll like a rainbow room.
He may not go in. Don't tell him that. He won't go in. Not that there's anything wrong with a rainbow room, but I just don't think it's Mike's cup of tea.
Awesome. Well, listen, okay, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play our ad from our sponsor, My Baby, Bob Christopher. And so we are going to play that. When we come back, we're going to have Michael Robichaud with us.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we'll be right back. 3 minutes. The Fox Den is now proudly sponsored by Vortex Ghost Gear, one of the leading fabricators of paranormal equipment. Bob Christopher is the founder and creator of Vortex Ghost Gear. He has decades of investigating, starting with his team at NEPA, and as lead in the popular local TV show Ghost Detectives, he has experience of how spirits could be seen or heard. Using this knowledge, he has manufactured equipment for specific scenarios of spirit manifestation and communication. He is the only manufacturer of the popular lifelike trigger prop cats and dogs. Using proximity meters wired to lights and sound, these prove to be highly effective communication devices in the field of study. The HTO, another Vortex exclusive, allowing specific items to be the highlight or trigger of your investigation. For example, place the item on a metal tray or attach directly to any metal object such as keys or glasses that continue to go missing or moved. Ask the spirit to touch the item. The HTO will light. It has a sound option as well. This device was used in Travel Channel's Ghost Nation with great results. The Dome, a static detector, can be the most useful device in your gear bag. This is to back up the theory that the spirits manifest using static electricity. Using several, you can track a spirit, for example, walking down a hallway, setting off each as it passes. The geophone detects vibrations. This is another way to track movement. If a claim is footsteps in the hallway or stairwell, set the sensitivity and place the device in that area. Its band of lights will show a range of vibrations from the slightest tapping, lighting only a few lights, to the loudest thumping, lighting the entire range. The Easy Scan Ghost Boxes are very popular due to the ease of use. They are custom decorated to the individual or team using them. Bob programs and uses an Arduino-based computer scanning FM waves to potentially communicate with the spirit realm in real time. Every box is unique and all custom hand decorated by Gina Bankston. The V-Pod has a special place for those who love the idea of REM pods. Use this sleeker, smaller, easier to transport device. It is a must-have in your gear bag. Take your investigating to the next level with many of Vortex Ghost Gear's unique and custom creations by Bob Christopher. Visit www.vortexghostgear.com to view all the products and get your equipment today. You can also investigate with Bob and Gina with ghostly excursions, taking people to some of the most haunted locations in the USA. Visit www.ghostlyexcursions.com and join us on our next adventure. Joining us now
Well,
is Michael, and Mama D is going to read Michael's bio. What is the book
yes, I am.
about?
Michael Robichaux has been investigating the paranormal for decades. Make him sound like he's an old man. He had with his group Alexandria Paranormal. Michael is also a gifted shaman. Over the years, he's helped hundreds of people overcome extreme paranormal encounters. Michael was the subject of Joni Mayhan's 2015 book, Ruin of Souls. Michael also appeared in The Haunting in the 100th episode, Provoking Evil, and Sam Baltrusis and Joni Mayhan.
Yay!
Well, I didn't torture his name. Thanks, Sam.
Oh, there he is! The man.
And there he is. Michael.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. So I have your book like right here. This book that Joni wrote has a bunch of stories in it of cases you've worked on, cases you solved. There's some amazing stories in there. Especially, I don't know what it is about the barn and the horses and all that kind of stuff because of the animals involved. I don't know. But that one kind of resonated with me. But it's a really cool book, and it really shows your range of all the things that you do. You know, I'm always intrigued by shamanism anyway. You know, and what you do and how you do it. Now, to become a shaman, I mean, explain how that all even happened and why it happened and how it started for you.
Well, of course, my paranormal experiences go all the way back to I was about 9 years old. But as I became a teenager, I started realizing that things in the field were constantly talking to me when I was on an investigation. Because at that time, they didn't have any equipment at all. I mean, I had a freaking recorder that was like this big and a Polaroid camera. So if that tells you anything, I don't want to show my age or anything, but yeah, it was that long ago. So
I still have one.
I think I do too somewhere.
You can't get film for them anymore, though.
No, exactly. They do make newer ones that do the same thing. My granddaughter has one that actually develops in front of you. I forget what the make is. It's a Japanese camera anyway. So I would say about in my early 20s, I started doing research on my roots and my background and heritage and found out that I have Native American blood and decided that I wanted to do more investigating into that. So once I did that, I started to realize that my calling in the paranormal was to help people. And the reason I say that was because I kept having weird, very strange dreams. I mean, like the same dream over and over and over and over for years. So finally I said to myself, like, why am I having this dream? Basically, the dream was about a spirit that was bothering a friend of mine. And for some reason, I felt the spirit afraid of me. Like there was a fear in the spirit of anytime I was around my friend, I would get this feeling that the spirit was not there with him. So he obviously had an attachment at that time. So every time I would be around him, the spirit would be gone. So that was very strange to me, and I couldn't figure that out for the longest time. So anyway, to make a long story short, in my 30s, I started to make connections in the paranormal field with people behind the scenes. I met somebody that lives out in Buffalo Gap, which is the western part of Virginia, not West Virginia, but the western part of Virginia, which is like very, very far out in the mountains. It's like right on the edge of the Shenandoah Mountains. And the gentleman's name was Pony, and he was a Chippewa Indian that did sweat lodge rituals. So he invited me to come and do some sweat lodge rituals with him. And he told me, when you do a sweat lodge ritual, a lot of times you'll go into a dream state, and your elders that are related to you will give you signs of the future and what you should do. You know, basically your plan in life, so to speak, why you're here. So after about, I would say, the sixth or seventh ritual, a woman, an old elderly woman, came to me in the dream state that I was in and started telling me that you need to start helping people and you need to start learning the rituals of shamanism. So that's how it started. And then from there, Pony took me under his wing, so to speak, doing other rituals. We did tobacco, peace pipe rituals, and learned more about what shamanism is, what more of a modern day shaman is comparatively to what they would say back then. Because a medicine man is almost the same thing as a shaman. They're just different names. They do the same thing. A medicine man, though, uses more rituals and more herbs and things from the earth to heal people, to where a shaman is more of a spiritual guide and a spiritual healer.
Right.
So
Do
that's basically
all shamans astral project, or is that?
No, I don't think all of them do, but they do when they do certain rituals. Like in a sweat lodge ritual, you do astral project and go into a dream state. And for some, it's dangerous because they tell you that while you're in that dream state, you know, there's been times where people have stopped breathing. They've had to be pulled out of the sweat lodge and CPR applied to them. So it can be dangerous, and you can be attacked while you're there. Where some of that goes back to some of the Skinwalker Ranch and some of the stuff that goes on at that place. Has a little bit to do with that same type of situation where you put yourself in danger by being in that dream state. So you have to be careful, and you have to really know what you're doing when you do astral project. Some people say they astral project and they can control it. I have a hard time controlling when I astral project. A lot of times it's like involuntary at times.
Yeah.
Where it seems like my spirit guides kind of just take me to a place. And sometimes I don't astral project. Sometimes I astral project my spirit guides. I just let them go. And a lot of times that happens in dangerous situations where I can't put myself in that situation because it could be dangerous for me physically. So I don't think all shamans astral project. I think they probably can, but I don't know if it depends on if they choose to or not.
Oh, we have. Wait, hold on. Oh, here we go. All right, Stephen Foster says, I am just grateful for Michael Robichaud. I'm sitting here with my mother, who he helped save. So, what is that story?
Hmm.
Oh, that was quite a while ago. Yes, Steven contacted me, and his mother was having a really hard time. So I sent my guides to basically. I did a viewing. I saw that there was a lot of health issues going on, as well as spiritual issues, and I sent my guides after I did a viewing. I sent my guides there and help heal her and basically give her more physical and spiritual strength to be able to fight through the situation she was in. It was a pretty intense case. It took a couple days, um, but that's about all I can really say about it. I mean, I've done so many cases to be exact about certain things.
And if you want to know more about them, get this book, Ruin of Souls, and you will learn a lot more. There's a lot of his cases, and they're really unique and really wow, just wow. You got to get the book and read the stories. Honestly,
Yeah, every case is different that I deal with. Some are much more intense than others. Some are easy cases, as I would say, and some are not so easy.
And
Um,
Michael busy.
but now here's the big question: how and when did you meet Miss Mayhan?
I was thinking that.
I met Joni at S.K. Pierce Mansion.
Yep.
I got in contact with a gentleman who was doing I guess like a sizzle reel, or so to speak, for a show that he was trying to pitch. And he invited me to come up and investigate. And I told him, I was like, it just so happens that I'm going to be on vacation in Rhode Island at the time. That's where my wife is from, and my father and his family are from there too. So I agreed. I said, yeah, I'll come up and check it out. I think the name of the show was supposed to be Sheriff of Ghost Town,
Yeah, I think
something
so.
to that effect. It was interesting. He did have a good conception. I don't know why it never took off, but he had a great conception for a show. Anyway, I came up there and I met Joni. Actually, I think we ended up being on the same investigation team that night because he split us up.
Yeah, that's told in here too. That story's in there too. Actually, you were with you didn't talk to him until later on. You weren't in this.
Yeah, we weren't the same group. I was with Sarah's then husband, and you were in a different group. But we met out on the sidewalk because I think we were both smokers at the time, and we were out.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. We both smoked cigarettes then, and I went out to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, and so we started talking, but you didn't tell me anything about what you do. I just knew that you were an investigator. I had no idea that you were Batman. You know?
Explain that, please.
This is Batman.
Yeah.
But
he is Joni's hero. He has saved her numerous.
So many times. The very first time, it was really funny because I'm a ghost magnet. Things follow me. They come in without even me leaving the house. I just pull them in, and sometimes they've been pretty bad. And there was one night that I was being traumatized by something in my room. So I took a picture of my bedroom and put it up on Facebook. And I said, I know some people read the spiritual energy on pictures. Does anybody get anything from this? And can anybody help me? And Michael messaged me, said, take the picture down. I'll send my spirit guides. And at that point, Mickey Mouse and Santa Claus could have walked in. I would have been completely okay with that if they were going to get rid of that ghost. And he told me, he said, just be prepared. You may see lights. You may feel something. It's going to, the energy is definitely going to change. And so I was like front and center, like, 11 o'clock when the guides were coming in. I'm being clairaudient. I hear sounds. And they were zipping around the room. When his guides came in, they were loud. It was different than anything I'd ever heard. Ghosts have a static sound. His guides are like a pure bell sound. It was like zoom, 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 zoom. And my cats, it was like watching a tennis match. My cats were like their heads were bobbing around watching. And this went on for like an hour and a half. And then the ghost was gone. All of a sudden, everything got very quiet. And for somebody who's clairaudient, silence is amazing. There was nothing there, and I'm like, oh my God, he is the real deal. And he's helped me, I don't know how many times since then, Michael.
Oh, I've lost count.
Yeah, because Joni doesn't not get herself into trouble.
No, she has
really
consistently has something messing with her.
Yeah, she really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that was a pretty intense spirit that was there that particular first time I helped you. That's why I helped, because when I looked at the picture, I immediately picked up on something that was trying to physically hurt you.
Yeah. I think that might have been the one. I pulled one in from an investigation. It was an ancient one from, but when your guides came in, they said it was sitting on my chest, like I was getting a pressure on my chest.
Yes.
And I felt like I couldn't breathe. It was sitting on my chest. Oh no, my head felt like it was being constricted. It was sitting on my chest and had its hands on my head trying to squeeze my head.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's pretty terrifying. I don't care who you are,
I think the other time that it was pretty intense was when you were in your car.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I document that story in Ghost Magnet. That was the scariest moment in my entire life. I had been investigating at Gettysburg. We picked up something. It was, as Jose said, it was a shadow demon. And it followed me home. We actually saw it, or several people saw it when we were in Gettysburg, and hovering around the campsite. And that night we were hearing it whipping around the windows, banging on the walls, and our electricity went out in the middle of the night. And when we parted ways, everybody else got in a car to go to Massachusetts. I got in a car to go back to Indiana by myself. And then all of a sudden I started hearing that same tone in the car with me. And I started getting these mind images that this thing was going to wait till it got dark, and it was going to show itself in hopes that I got in an accident, because it was going to pop up at me out of the back seat. And so I was in West Virginia, didn't have good service, managed to finally get hold of somebody that got a hold of Michael. And they said, yeah, he knows. But I hadn't talked to him yet. So as it's getting dark, I was just terrified. And then at the very last minute, I hear Michael's guides come in. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
Right? Thank God.
Oh, that was so scary.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, one of my guides actually told me, was like,
yeah, Pam was there. It was running around outside of the cabin. It was tapping on the windows. It was banging on the walls.
Wow.
It was intense.
yeah, my guide came to me.
I was there, was it? I left the day early.
Yeah, but you left early. It was after you left.
Yeah. Damn, I missed everything. I had a broken foot then.
Yeah, I remember you had a broken foot when I saw you at Penhurst.
Right. Yes. Oh my God, that was so much fun.
How many times did you break your feet?
No, just that one time. It was from me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had so many events to do, and we were going Penhurst Paragon and stuff. So I had to go there, and I had my knee scooter, and I did not hold me back, not one little bit.
No, it was hot too that weekend. It was miserable.
The last one was worse. Oh my
God.
Was
it? Yeah.
I thought I was gonna die. I don't think I've recovered since. Oh my God.
Yeah, I wanted to go to the Gettysburg one, but obviously that's not going to happen.
It's still on the table. It's still not. They didn't really
What was the date on that one again?
July
something, right?
27th, 28th.
Yeah. So that might still happen then. I mean, it might still
happen.
The end of July. That's still plenty of time.
Yeah. If it's on, we're there. Bob.
The thing about it is if I'm not trying to be mean to people at all, but if people would just listen to what medical experts tell them, you got these people all out doing all this stupid crap, and they wonder why it hasn't gone away yet. Well, yeah. Come on. It's a virus, people. It doesn't just go away.
No.
Thank you, because that is exactly how I feel as well.
As much as I'd like it to just go away, it's not going to just go away. Okay, it's just not. That's not going to happen. Yeah. It'll eventually, obviously, slow down when people start listening to what medical experts are telling them, and people are like, "Oh, I'm not going to wear a mask." Well, I was at the store the other day. I was wearing a mask. I'm wearing a mask because I'm at high risk. I have COPD. I smoked for 40 years. My lungs are not the best. So, and plus I do AV work. I'm a technician, so I'm up and down ladders. I'm in construction sites. But I'm at the store, and there's like 6 people all gathered in front of me in one spot. I look at all of them. I'm like, really, people? Really? I'm like, could you all like spread apart? Do you see the marks on the floor? They're there for a reason.
Mhm.
They all look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm gonna give them the look like, yeah, I will beat your asses if you do not act correctly. So they all finally they were all Latin people, Latin guys. They all started talking Spanish to each other, and they all spread apart and stood at the spot they were supposed to stand at.
You should tell him you're going to send him a demon.
It was ridiculous that I had to say something to somebody. It's like, use your common sense, people. Really, come on.
So
But I think that's what's gonna.
I read a comment. Someone said, "Do you think common sense is going to make a comeback?" And I'm like, because it was never in the forefront. You know, people don't have common sense. They just don't.
It's not common anymore.
No, I think it's always been.
It's a sad thing to say, but it's true.
It's very rare.
It is
very rare. So should we reel ourselves back in away from Covis and onto?
Yes, let's talk more about the. Actually, do we want to talk about Joni's new book?
The one that's coming out, or the one that just
came out?
Yeah. The Hanover Haunting, we do.
Yes. Yeah. All right. First of all, Deanna, if she's still in the chat room, I hope she is. Say hi, Deanna. And,
hi, Deanna.
And yeah, so Deanna, she lived that horrible story, and then I hooked them up, Joni and Deanna, and to write the story because she couldn't find a writer, and I'm like, I got the perfect writer for you. Trust me, she's the one. And so that then the book came out, but I didn't even realize until reading the book the ending and what happened. So I don't know which one of you wants.
Well, let me start, and then I'll turn it over to Mike.
No, we'll just let Joni go ahead, and it's her book, so I want her to go ahead. I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
Deanna is here. So Deanna invited me to come check out her house on my way back from a Paracon in Massachusetts. And I had every intention of spending the night at her house. And I got there and I walked in, and being a medium, I was overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my God, this house it's not just haunted, it's negatively, extremely haunted. And I when I need Michael's help, I usually will just message him because I don't want to bother him. I actually called Michael on the phone, which is very rare for me to do that. And he's always surprised when he sees me come up, because that usually means, oh shit.
Trouble.
Yeah, if I get a phone call, I already know that that's not something that's just a normal case.
Right. And I said, Michael, my God, this place is insane. And, should I spend the night here? And he said, let me take a look. And he came back and goes, no, you shouldn't. He goes, it would be dangerous for you. And I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. But after that, I got in touch with Michael. I said, look, when I was talking to Deanna, and I realized what a sweetheart she is and what she's gone through, the extreme haunting she'd been living through, all the people that tried to help her, I said, I have somebody who can do this, who can clear this house. And of course, you know what? She's heard that 100 times. Mm-hmm. So for me to come back and just be one more person adding to that pile, but she trusted me. And so I called Michael and I said, Michael, you've got to help this poor woman. So there you go. Now it's your turn, Michael.
Well, as soon as Joni contacted me about it, I'd already known about the house because I don't watch a lot of paranormal shows. I used to watch more than I do now. I kind of lost interest in them after a while, just because of all the fake stuff and falsifying evidence and glorifying yelling at spirits and stuff that people shouldn't be doing. Mm-hmm. Basically, so that's why I lost interest in it. But I had watched the show with Amy and Steve Duchevy.
The Dead Files.
Yeah, I saw that show. I kind of have to give them props because they don't really glorify anything there. They tell you what exactly is going on and do their best to help people. I definitely would say that. So I did see the house on there, and immediately when I saw the house on the TV, I had to change the channel. It disturbed me to the point to where hard to explain. Just put it this way: I don't very rarely get chills or goosebumps from something. That house gave them to me immediately. So when Joni contacted me and told me what needed to be done, I had to do like a couple rituals that I normally don't do just to prepare myself for that particular house. It's probably one of the worst cases that I've had to deal with. It was emotionally disturbing to me. Some of the things that the spirits said to me and my guides. So, and they pushed my buttons a couple times to the point that they pissed me off. I mean, yeah.
Were they doing that on purpose to like gain strength or something? Or
I think they were trying to steal energy from my spirit guides. Well, that wasn't going to happen. My spirit guides are, in no uncertain terms, probably some of the strongest spirit guides on earth. To my opinion, that's only my opinion. They don't take no crap from no spirits at all, any of them, demonic or not. And demonic spirits are not, I say demons and demonic hauntings are very rare. Most people don't realize how really rare they are.
Yes.
So if you do come across one, it's not anything to play with at all. Yeah. I've helped a couple people that are on TV shows. I won't name any names. I will say that one particular individual constantly pushes his luck, and I told him the last time I helped him that if he wants me to help him again, I'm going to charge him money. And I don't charge people. I don't. That's not why I do what I do. I do what I do, and I think is because that's why I'm here on Earth, is to help people. So when Joni asked me to help Deanna, there was no question in my mind that I had to. And like I said, it was emotionally disturbing to me. It's even getting me a little emotional right now talking about it.
Right. Yeah, I've known her for years, and talking to her and witnessing the stuff that she's gone through with people in the paranormal taking advantage of her and wanting fame from her story, besides her, and trying to like steal her story and all that kind of stuff, and then just wanting to go in and investigate and leave, investigate and leave.
And all that did was put fuel to the fire.
Yeah, and leave the place worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I heard it, and I just immediately connect with her. I'm like, I want to help you. I wanted to send Chris down there, and she didn't trust, that Chris could do it and stuff. So I'm like, all right, fine. I never went in there to investigate. I was supposed to go down, stay with you guys, when you went down, but I think my back was ill, something. I was sick. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't go. But it's like, it seems like that's what happened. Every time I was supposed to go to Deanna's, something happened. I couldn't.
Well, there was a reason for that.
Yeah, like Waverly. I can't go to Waverly. I'm not even going to try anymore. I'm not.
Waverly, I've only been to one time, and I was
6 times I tried.
Yeah, one time I was actually supposed to go another time, and it fell through. So the only one time that I did go, I would say that a lot of experiences, and actually my daughter ended up with attachment over it. That's another thing that occurred, and I had to actually bring her to Pony and have the attachment removed. I couldn't remove the attachment at that time. My spirit guides were unable to help her. So actually between my spirit guides, I brought her to Pony and we did a sweat lodge ritual to remove the attachment. But anyway.
Talk about that for a second. Your spirit guides. Now, your spirit guides are like on the level of way the hell up here. Joni compares her spirit guides who were like in training down here.
Well, they are. they weren't prepared, as Michael's described. They weren't prepared for what I was going to put them through.
Yeah. She needs to sign up to like where your spirit guides came from, so she can get new ones. A little more experience.
Well, his are training mine. His are working with mine.
Yeah, they do work with hers a lot. So they are definitely getting better,
Yeah.
getting stronger, and being able to help her more than they were when I first met her. That's for sure.
Now, how did your spirit guides come to you? Like, did they multiply in the masses, or what?
When I did the sweat lodge, they basically introduced themselves to me, and there's 4 of them.
4 of them. Okay.
One's a warrior. One's an older woman. One is a past relative, and I can't even at this point. He doesn't really tell me. He just tells me he's a relation. So it's obviously a Native American relation somewhere way back in time. And the other one is a woman as well. So, but they basically showed themselves to me during sweat lodge rituals. There goes Joni.
Yeah, the animals are going crazy. I don't know what.
The critter cam. There could be.
Yeah, is acting up.
Hang on a second. I gotta go look.
All right.
There could be a fight going on out there.
We'll talk amongst ourselves.
They want more food.
They want more food.
Okay, funny. Just as long as the skunk doesn't spray, then we're all good.
Yeah.
But so all right. So now.
Small vision, we're good.
So now, don't you have? I mean, don't your spirit guides also have helpers? Like, don't they gather more?
Yes, they do. Like in certain sense, that's what a lot of people don't understand. Is they're like, well, if you're a shaman, then why do you use Catholicism during some of your rituals and stuff? Well, Catholicism is one of the oldest religions. I was brought up a Catholic, and spirit guides and archangels are on the same level. So at least my spirit guides are on the same level as archangels. So in some situations, I will call in archangels to help. In certain times, I need them. Like with Deanna's house, I definitely called in. Basically, you would almost say a legion of them. I called all of them in that I could to help, because just my spirit guides alone were not going to be able to do it.
So this took days to do. Now, do they come and inform you of the progress? Like, how do you know what's going on?
I do remote viewing, but I do it like at a distance, so to speak. I don't fully astral project. I kind of utilize one of my guides and use their vision to see what's going on, just because I can't put myself in that physical harmful situation at the time. Otherwise, I won't be able to help.
Right.
So I would use my spirit guides, and they would basically fill me in on what's going on. Because there was a portal in her house, every time someone went there and investigated, something else would come through that portal.
Mm-hmm.
So there was so many there, my spirit guides couldn't even count how many were in the house at the time that it happened, at the time that they went there. Because once they started clearing the house, it became a battle. There was a spiritual battle that occurred that is hard to explain. It's something that, like, have you seen battles like, let's say, if you watched any of the Lord of the Rings?
Oh yeah.
Well, some of the battles that went on like that, that's almost the kind of battle it was. Wow. It was pretty intense. It was a lot of spiritual bloodshed, as I would say. Wow. There was physical attacks.
Yeah. And this is the thing. This is why it was such the real deal going on in this house. Like a lot of are saying, "Oh, my house is haunted. Oh, I go through that," and then people go in there and it's like there's nothing going on here, you know. But Deanna, her life is in jeopardy, you know.
Yes, no doubt, because that's why I helped right away, because I knew that they were physically trying to harm her,
Hmm.
and they were going to physically harm her. They had built up energy, and luckily, when Joni contacted me at the time, they were about ready to full on attack her,
Wow.
because of what she had done and what people she had brought in to try to get rid of them. All it did was make them matter. So
Well, and she wanted to leave the house.
yes, exactly.
That
She
pisses me
wanted
off.
out of there, and at that point, I don't blame her. I would have wanted out too.
Yeah, yeah.
But they had a hold of her. They wouldn't let her leave. Like every time she'd try to leave,
Yeah,
something would happen. Somebody'd get sick. Somebody died. Like her father died the first
yeah.
time she started looking. And, they really, they had a latch on her.
And the people that I believe some of the first people that came and looked at the house when she had it for sale, the spirits just straight up, they just straight up attacked the people, and I'm sure some of them had no idea what was going on when they went home that night, and before they knew it, they in no uncertain terms knew that they wanted nothing to do with that house. And,
Right. Yeah, like me. For instance, the house right around the corner from me. I'm looking at houses. I looked at 100 of them down here before I bought this one. I pulled up in front of the house, and something came, boof, right through the car and right up. That buzzing in the ears, Joni, and then it was like
yeah,
next to it's like her ears, like, oh my god, what the hell is that? And this being, I don't even know. I can't say it's a spirit. I don't think it was like a human thing. I was just like, wow, this is just not human.
no, it probably wasn't
And
from
then
the way you just told me.
yeah, I went into the house the next day. What's the only thing in that house is religious garb around. There's, statues and pictures and Bible and, in the barn, even on the top of the stairs in the barn, there was the big Mary picture, I was just like, oh yeah, no.
Yeah, no, thank you. You already know when you see that, that's a telltale sign.
Yeah, I'm like, no, no, no. That's right around the corner here, and then I got this one, but I parked there and I'm looking up the street and I'm like, what is that? What's from that street right there? It was like there were trees there and a little road went in, and Bob says, oh, that's a cemetery. And I was like, oh, so there's a big cemetery there, and I don't know if it came from the cemetery or what became from that
Oh,
direction.
it definitely hangs around the cemetery. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was
A
crazy.
lot of people don't realize their cemeteries are not places to go and talk to spirits. You can go visit there, that's fine. You go visit a cemetery, but don't attempt to talk to a spirit at a cemetery, because I would say 99% of the time you're going to get something you don't want.
Okay, so back up, back up. I thought I was not allowed to go into cemeteries at all. And I love cemeteries.
Well, you are a different story, John.
No, I just went into one not too far from here too. The other day, I was riding around. We were looking at houses with Bob's sister and her daughter, and there was a cemetery I hadn't seen. And it's like we went in there and we're driving through, and I was like, "All right, you got to stop," And it's like I knew there was a woman there, and I just stepped out of the car for a second, and I'm going sideways, and I'm going, "Oh." I got like so dizzy, so woozy. I'm like, yeah, we gotta leave. You know. So.
So my daughter had a bad experience in the cemetery. She was actually on the show when Ghost Attack.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. She and one of her and her friends went into a cemetery. Actually, one of the oldest cemeteries in Alexandria. And Alexandria is one of the oldest towns in the United States. It dates back to the 1600s.
Mm-hmm.
So she went into the cemetery and started talking to. She saw the woman had just died, hadn't died that long ago. Mistake. And she got attacked. So it's not a place to really, like I said, it's not a place. They were talking to the spirit, and they had a pendulum, and they were asking the spirit to move the pendulum, so forth and so on. Have you ever watched the show? You can look. It's on When Ghosts Attack, and I believe I can't remember the name of the episode. I think something to do with Phantom Menace or something to that effect.
Right. Yeah,
Something
they're all
Phantom.
listed if you go all the shows are always listed seasons and episodes, so you
Yeah,
can find the names and such. So
yeah.
it says your
But
story would put the Conjuring movie to shame, and it wouldn't have any of it made up. Well, here's the thing about the Conjuring. Now we all know Andrea, and the Conjuring was Hollywood. They took over the story. They made it theirs. It wasn't hers. All right.
no, they ruined it.
That is not what happened to Andrea. If you really want to know the true story of The Conjuring, then talk to Andrea. She's in the process of trying to get a movie made of the real thing. But this movie here, yeah, Hollywood can't take this over. The way Joni wrote this book, it's the script. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only way. That's the only way I would, if I was Joni or Deanna. That's the only way I would ever let anyone do it. Would be like, no, you cannot take the movie and do what you want with it. You need to follow the book to the T on what happened, why it happened, and how it happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and going back to Michael's book, Ruin of Souls, I had been asking Michael if I could write a book about him for years after he just helped me one astounding time after another. And I started talking to him. I'm like, so you help other people? And he started telling me a little bit about their stories, but not a lot. And finally, after pleading, he let me write a book. And instead of saying, oh, well, this happened here, this happened there, you should talk to, he just gave me a list of names. Here's a bunch of people that I've helped. And I went into it completely blind, didn't know if the people were going to give me good stories, bad stories, no story. And I ended up talking to lawyers and nurses and just normal everyday people. There were a couple paranormal investigators, but most of them were people that found themselves in a really dire situation with a haunting. And every one of those stories, there's 13 stories in that book, each one of them could have been a major movie because the extreme hauntings they were going through. And it just was done, one and done after Michael came through. Like they've been living with this. Some of these people, years, they've been dealing with this. And overnight or over 2 nights, depending on how severe, the haunting was just completely gone. And I really think Hollywood or somebody, the Travel Channel or somebody needs to grab onto your story because
HBO.
they could literally do that book.
Yeah, I think they. I don't think they. I think there's so many non-believers out there.
Yeah.
Oh, they're like, oh yeah, right. You're full of shit. Use my language.
To them.
But they're like, yeah, you're full of crap. You can't do that. You don't do that. I'm like, I don't need to prove anything to you. I don't prove anything to anyone.
Yeah.
That's not why I do what I do. And just like Joni said, it took her a couple years of coaxing me to finally say, okay, well, I'm not going to tell you my story. I'll tell you about me, but I'll give you people's names and numbers. You can call and talk to them. If they're willing to tell you their stories, that's fine. I'm willing to go ahead and let you write the book. That's fine. But I've never been into publicity. It takes a lot sometimes for me to even talk about what I do.
Right.
A lot of times I ignore. Somebody will ask me that I'll meet, and I kind of ignore them and don't really answer their questions. And I guess it kind of makes some people mad, but that's just the way I am. I'm here to help people. I'm not here for any glory or anything like that. And like people ask me, oh, well, how much do you charge? I'm like, I don't charge people anything. If you want to give me a donation, that's up to you. I'm not going to force you to do anything.
Pay for gas. People got to travel. They, you put time, effort, this and that. If you want to help with stuff like that, great. That's thank you. I mean, you got to think of what he's doing too. He's saving your freaking lives. you for years, like you said, Joni. Years they're living like this. You read it in this book. Years they've gone through this and they've tried this and they've tried that. Michael comes in, it's like, think, miracle, and everything's great. If they do the wrong thing, they choose to do the wrong thing, and the thing comes back again, you were warned.
Well, and one of the stories I had a hard time writing because the woman wouldn't stop doing what she was doing, wouldn't keep herself protected, and I couldn't keep interviewing her. Every time I'd interview her, something nasty would come through the energy cord as I'm talking to her, and Michael would have to remove it. So it got to the point where I had to say, I can't talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
That was the one where I had to physically go to
Yeah.
her house.
Yeah, that one.
That
Yep.
was a partial possession.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the worst cases that I've dealt with in a while too, because she's an empath, and she also has abilities. Don't get me wrong, but she has a lot of negative energy around her all the time. And I don't think it's her fault. I think it might be hereditary. So yeah, she's had some really bad situations. Luckily, she's been pretty good now. She lives in Florida and has been fine for the last couple of years.
That's great.
Because, some people, no matter what you do, you can lead the horse to water, you can't make them drink.
Yeah, this is true.
Listening to these stories and things.
And I've been told that some people have started to read the book and they couldn't finish the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael is the real deal. Yeah, I've had a lot of people contact me too. They're like, Ruin of Souls and Hanover Haunting are the two scariest books they've ever read. And Ruin of Souls, there were a lot of people that could not finish it. Like, it terrified them, scared them so much, because every chapter is the story of the haunting that these people were going through. So the majority of the story is what they lived through. And then, the last, couple paragraphs, and Michael came through and saved the day, and the ghost was,
so. Like, oh, it's nothing. No, Michael saved it.
That's why they love me, Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
We all call him Batman. So
she also ended it. She could write another 100 pages easy, but you got to end it somewhere.
Yeah, as soon as I was on the Haunting, which took a lot because at first I wasn't going to do the show.
I had to talk you into that.
Yeah, finally I did it, but I've probably done, since the show was on, and it's constantly being repeated. That's what kills me. I don't know how many times they've repeated it. Every time they repeat it, I get like 50 emails.
Of course. Yep.
So I'm still dealing with like 4 or 5 cases right now because of it. I
have never seen it. So I'll have to find it and see it.
Yeah. It's the 100th episode.
Yeah.
Hey, up here in Canada, we don't get all the good stuff. We get all the crap.
Oh.
Crap. That's
crap.
I know.
That's crapula.
Some of my relatives are from Canada.
They're good people.
Yes, that's where
some of us are very special.
Yeah, French Canadian, and I think that's where they came down over towards South and North Dakota, and one of my relatives married a Native American woman, and that's where it all started.
Oh wow!
My name used to be spelled Robiosaux.
Yeah, that's I've had a guest on my show before, Joe Robichaud, and it's EAUX on the end. And every time I go to when you were coming on the show before, because I've had you on Fox 10 before, and
a
million times, but you had once, twice, I don't know. But I would go to put your name in, and it automatically wanted to keep putting up the EAUX.
Yeah, I know.
So I was doing that.
But yeah, if they ever do a movie, it would definitely have to be the right producer and the right director to do the movie. It's not something that would be easily done.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Hollywood wants to take it over. They do. They want to amp it up and make it something. It's enough. The story is enough. These stories, your situations are enough. They don't need any added anything. Deanna's story doesn't need added anything.
I think American audiences are afraid of real stories.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. Because most of the TV shows that they have out there, other than The Haunting and a few of the others that are from Old Dominion Pictures, they put out quite a few different paranormal shows that were all fairly good shows. They had good premises behind them, and it was well done. That's one of the reasons I agreed to it, because the way the show was done and the premise behind the show. Like, I mean, not going to name any of the shows, but there's at least 5 or 6 of them out there that all put a bad taste in your mouth when you watch them.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah. I don't
even a haunting didn't handle it like it really happened, because
they couldn't. That's one of the reasons why I was saying to you earlier, is why probably no one will ever tell my story on the TV show is the way it's. Most people won't believe it.
They'd have to put a lot of special effects into it too.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of computer stuff, and most people would be like, "Yeah, right, okay, sure."
Yeah, and I had a hard time promoting the book, because again, it goes back to most people. Well, I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people don't even believe in spirit guides. And then, I'm telling them that his spirit guides can swoop in and save the world. And they're like, yeah, that's crazy. And I'm like, no, he's like a modern day superhero. And this stuff really happens. And, but it's invisible. So it's so hard to see. You don't know.
Yeah.
You can't prove it. You can't show people. But, he's literally taken people's lives that were at the brink of devastation. These people were ready to die. And Michael saved them. And, that's why we call him Batman, because he comes in and he saves people. And you can't hardly explain that. It's hard to show it.
Mm-hmm.
No, because when I was doing the show, immediately after we did my part of the interview and, all the stuff because they shoot you for like 2.5 hours for literally 10 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah.
As you know, I mean, so I was expecting that anyway. I have worked on TV shows before. I was a camera operator. I've been a technical director, a lighting engineer. I did sound reinforcement. I have a very technical background, so that's why when they came after we did everything, they were like, "Oh, we're not going to be able to do the show the way that you actually helped Sam." And I looked at them. I said, "Well, I kind of expected that. So what is your idea?" And they told me, and I was like, "That's fine." I was like, "I know that most people, average individual, don't understand what I do, how I do what I do, or don't understand the paranormal in general."
Everyone's saying right now. We've only got like 4 minutes left of this show. Do you believe it? I mean,
it goes quick when you're talking,
Yeah, it does. It does. But so in this time, well, we could stay later on here if you wanted to. But Blog Talk is going to end in 3 minutes. So that will end, and I'll have to, do my little exit thing.
We'll let Joni go ahead and do the rest of the talking.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
Joni,
you're welcome.
I want to encourage people to read Ruin of Souls. Michael gets half of my royalties on that. So I would like to see him be able to get something out of this situation. And then I'm also writing a new book right now called When Ghosts Are Near. And we didn't really talk about that. And it's how people feel when a ghost is near. And I asked people that question, how do you know when a ghost is near? And tell me one of your scariest stories or your most profound experiences. And I have gotten so many crazy stories and great stories. Gina gave me a story, which was great. And I've gotten quite a few, but I'm still writing it. So I'm still open for stories. So if you're a medium or sensitive, or, you get the ear ringing too, or you get it, you get goosebumps, or any other way that a ghost is near,
I know when they're near, because I usually tell them to get lost. I'm tired. I need my rest. I'm not young anymore.
Well, so anybody can find me on Facebook and message me. But I have a question for Michael. We have 2 minutes left. So, Michael, how do you recommend people keep themselves protected when they're dealing with the paranormal?
There's a lot of ways. I say before you go into a house, it's always a good idea to say St. Michael's prayer. It's probably one of the best prayers out there, to my opinion. I would say one of the strongest prayers. And then some people like to keep themselves safe by picturing themselves surrounded by white light. I actually say blue light is actually stronger, like almost a fluorescent blue light. Focus that in your mind before you go into an investigation. Say the St. Michael prayer, and always have some holy water and sea salt on you. Those two things can save your ass, believe it or not.
That's those are good things. I had just printed out too the St. Michael's prayer.
You have to send it to me.
Oh yeah, I get
Well, I
it.
have it memorized. I've said it so many times because it's part of Michael's spiritual boundary. When you're creating a spiritual boundary, you go around with sea salt and holy water, and you say the St. Michael's prayer. So I know it. I've said it probably a million times by now.
Right. Yeah. But I printed out so I was going to show it. But I'll put it up there after. But I got to play my exit. You guys have been fantastic.
Great. It was a great show. I had fun. We'll have to
Thank
do it again sometime.
We will. We absolutely will because we have so much more to talk about because this is an endless subject. Endless subject. Sorry,
Thank
Mommy, I didn't talk too much.
Thank you, Mama D.
Tony. Go to JoniMayhan.com. Check her out on Facebook, on her YouTube channel, and everywhere. Check out the Critter Cafe, which is totally adorable and I absolutely love it. But get those fiction books of hers too.
Yes, definitely.
Amazing.
If you need any help from me, you can get me at www.michaelrobishaw.com.
There you go. All right. So good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Please share the video. Please subscribe to everybody's YouTube channels.
Good night, y'all.
And we'll
Good night, people.
You guys hang out for a minute.
All righty.
All right. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of The Fox Den. We would love it if you would go over to our YouTube channel, which is The Fox Den, hosted by Gina Bankston. Please like and subscribe our channel and join us in the chat room there while we stream live every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you next week. Good night.